Alright, what's up, yins guys? I'm gonna do a video today because I got a few words. Let's say what I think about that dude that got caught with 3 women he had held hostage for 10 years and had his whole house padlocked and was doing whatever the hell he pleased with them, and then from what I was hearing on the news, actually got them pregnant a couple of times and actually beat them in the stomach and did all kind of shit to make them miscarry and all kind of shit like that. Really hideous things. For one thing, they lost 10 years of their life. Too bad there wasn't a way that you can actually take those years off of that somebody took off of somebody's life and give them to that person whose life they were taken from, right? So if that were actually possible, too bad there wasn't a way to take 30 years off of this guy's lifespan, right? And give each of them 3 women 10 years each for what they lost, being held prisoner, and for that misery they had. So that would be one thing. Then another one of my solutions too is I think we should actually select some hand-picked women, some of them ones with tattoos and everything, them real rough ones, the ones that would pretty much probably kick my ass if I pissed them off. Get a bunch of them together and put this guy in a room with some of them and see how see how much of a badass he thinks he is then, you know what I mean? I think in some cases he ought to be somebody's slave for 10 years, you know, maybe do some kind of a hard labor or something. If he was actually in prison, since there is actually a child that's actually surviving right now, since he did something like that, he should actually have to do hard labor in prison and have some kind of amount of money made that he can actually, say, maybe have the state give so much money child support to that child that the one woman has, and make this guy do hard labor to pay back the money that the state would be maybe given to this woman's child. That and it's a shame too. What the heck would you tell the? Imagine a kid having to figure out, you know, what happened like that. I mean, too, it's a damn shame. That's one other thing with a big crime. Or we can actually put him in the room with some hand-picked feminazis, the kinds I always say on YouTube. I'm not saying all feminists are bad. I stand behind a lot of their ideals, certain feminists. But then there's those feminazis that I always said on YouTube, the ones that, you know, no matter even if you're a guy that sympathizes with some feminist ideals, it's not good enough for them. Why don't we take a few of these kind of feminazis, since they're hateful enough anyway? I'd gladly take some of them that don't even like me, gather some of them up and put them in a room with this guy and give them each a set of brass knuckles and let them go to town. I mean, but the only stipulation is, the hard thing would be that you tell them that they're not allowed to kill him, you know what I mean? Gauge it where you just make his life miserable or something. But the only thing about that, though, I guess the rage would be so intense that they'd probably forget themselves and kill him anyway. But that's one thing. But if something happened like this guy, you know, wherever he is, I mean, in prison, if they had him in a certain cell block, I can give a rat's ass less. I'd just laugh. But the only thing is, in a prison like that, I would hate to think that anybody would actually kill him, because he should have his life made a living hell, you know what I mean? Don't know what the hell no matter what he tries to plead with his stupid writings in his notebook that he was writing even when he started having him captive, whatever he tries to plead that he's mentally sick or whatever. Hell, the guy still took 10 years off of these women's lives. He should still have to pay for it. And at the very least, somebody should have him captive in some kind of a captive situation where there'd be people beating on him, you know what I mean, where he should not be allowed to have any peace. It shouldn't be no cushy jail cell any kind of way, where the only thing he should be protected from in a jail cell is somebody from... The only thing he should be protected from is from somebody killing him too quickly. You know, do you know what I'm saying? That's the only thing, you know what I mean? People can do what the hell they want to somebody like that in prison, but the only rule they should have for guys like this in a prison is nobody should be allowed to kill him too quickly. I mean, that would be the only crime, you know, because somebody like that deserves 10 years of misery, since they gave these people 10 years of misery and abducting them the way they did, and nobody knowing where they're at. So fair is fair. So nobody in the prison, they should be allowed to beat him up or do whatever they want, but providing that he's done his 10 years of misery, you know. Maybe after he done 10 years of misery, and maybe the same kind of treatment that he did, like for these women, maybe after he completed 10 years of like a misery and mistreatment equivalent to what he'd done to them, then maybe it would be okay if somebody were killed him in prison. You know, that would be different, but it would have to be as long as he completed 10 years of misery. That's what I say. Maybe after he completed at least 10 years of misery, then it would be okay, but at least 10. But you almost got to wonder too, maybe it shouldn't be 10, because after all, this was done to 3 women, right? And you can also argue in a way too that he'd have to do 30 years of misery, of getting his ass beat and getting his life made miserable and shit like that, you know what I mean? No less than 10 years of misery. But, you know, when you think about it, it should be about 30 years, 10 years for each one of them, you know, because I said in the beginning of the video, though, that he should, if there was a way to take 30 years off of their lifespan, take 30 years off of his lifespan to give them 10 years apiece, you know, to make up for what he took, the time he took from them and all that stuff, you know. But that's what I would say. But any other kind of things that I would have done to somebody like that is what do you call it? Abuse of power, and a kind of a thing that he done, you know, that's pretty much called sexual misuse. He should be revoked of his private parts, literally. Anybody that does something that disgusting ought to be revoked of their private parts, have them surgically cut off. They should cut the things off, right? Just cut his private parts off, right? And then show them to him in a jar. Look at this, you know. And after you show them in a jar, make him watch them being cooked in maybe a stew pot or something. Maybe throw a few onions in there or some kind of thing. And, you know, after you show him his private parts that have been cut off, make him watch them being cooked. Pour it into a bowl and say, okay, you're going to eat it. And how you do it is up to you, but you are going to eat it. Whether willingly, or we're going to make you eat it in one way or another. You know, if it's through pain compliance, so be it, but tell him you're going to eat it, and you're going to eat it now, and you're going to eat it and like it. Put it that way. And I think that's just pretty much it. But I think that's pretty much all I gotta say there, you know what I mean? I could have made this video longer by talking about some more creative things, like maybe tying him to a chair and super glue a harmonica into his mouth, and then keep whip him in the groin with a rubber hose so that he makes music when he screams. You know, that would be some funny shit, wouldn't you think? You know, that will be a little better than a blowtorch to the groin, you know what I mean? But I think it would be more fun to just to have him tied to a chair, whip him in the groin with a rubber hose, or I don't know if it would be as fun as the boiling hot enema, you know, but it might be kind of fun, you know, but yeah, beat him in the groin with a rubber hose while tied to a chair, like, but with a harmonica glued to his mouth and two, maybe some kind of musical instruments like two Indian flutes or some kind of things glued into his nostrils too, so that when he screams it makes music, and maybe have a Philharmonic orchestra playing in the background too, you know, and then make a concert CD out of it, you know what I mean? And creative and unusual punishment, you know what I mean? But at least at least it's always good to be creative. But yeah, somebody that done something like that. I mean, if it was, yeah, I stand by everything I say in this video, because if it was one of my relatives, yeah, they basically, or if it was one of my kids or one of my relatives, the police have pretty much better get them, because it's especially if it was one of my kids. If I was a father, it would be I would feel that it would be my sworn duty to kill the son of a bitch and then spend the rest of my life in prison. I wouldn't give a shit, because I wouldn't feel that anything less would be sufficient. So yeah, the cops better get him. Well, hell, I even was listening to the Howard Stern show once when I had my real good paying job years ago, and somebody had Howard Stern on the radio, and he had this guy that was a guest who, I guess, invited kids to his house and swimming pool and all that, and he kind of took advantage of them, some kind of a way, raped him or something, and he got out of prison. And anyway, Howard Stern was actually saying to this guy, he says, you know what, he goes, if you did this to my kid, I won't even call the police, I would kill you, you know. And then there was people calling in the phone line. This guy called in the phone line, I guess he must have been gay or something, and he's talking about he weighs about 300 pounds or some kind of thing, says, literally saying that he would take the guy and do to him what he did to that kid and laugh about it, or some kind of way. I don't remember the whole details, but there were people calling in the Howard Stern show and saying things to him. And then the guy was so sick, and the guy was so dang sick, he didn't even feel no remorse about what he did. I mean, he was saying, oh, why don't you open up your mind, you know. If I were Howard Stern, I would probably be bitch slapping this guy. I mean, after being in a room with him a couple of times. But yeah, I figured I would bring that up, you know what I mean? But some sick ass shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, that episode of the Howard Stern show, I vaguely remember. I would be with Howard on that. I would probably help them kill the guy in so many cases, but I think it is a natural reaction, you know what I mean? Hey, if any of you guys was a father or relative, hell yeah, you know what I mean? They damn well better get him, you know. But yeah, I think way back when, before we had, you know, police and things like that, if you did something, somebody did something to one of their own, there was basically the code. You know, there was codes according to that. You know, you touch one of ours, we'll kill you. That's basically what it was supposed to be about. And there was good reasons for that. You know what I mean? And when people had that understanding with each other, maybe there was a less likelihood anybody would pull anything like that. You know what I mean? But that's why a lot of people did that shit and run too. I don't think it was a total solution for anything either, because I guess people still did shit under the cover of darkness, you know what I mean, too, you know. But anyway, I don't think it was, I think it was totally normal. If somebody did something to one of their own, and they found out for a fact who did it, and they catch him.